or they try to.
What in God's name is going on in here? What was that ruckus?
What ruckus?
I was just in my office and I heard a ruckus.
Could you describe the ruckus, sir?
You're now listening to Music Impulse with Smilez.
It's your boy Smilez. We're back for another episode of the Music Impulse. On this very special episode, I had to switch up. We're trying something new. Y'all know I like to do different, like people in the music industry, from artists to the producers to writers to managers and things like that. So my next guest is Sharde Collins. Sharde Collins. She's a songwriter, but it's a little bit different because how her story is. She does licensing and syncing for music for like TV shows and commercials and things like that. I heard her on an episode of one of our past guests. Shout out to Rome and Cam from Dormtainment, with their Boss Talk podcast. So definitely go on our Music Impulse archives and check that out. That was one of the pandemic days when they were just like, "Hey, we willing to do podcasts." I was like, "They are." It's a shot in the dark, and I reached out to them. They're like, "Yeah, sure, let's go. When you do it, we can do it tomorrow." I was like, "Oh, hold on, wait."
I gotta get ready.
That's what I was more shocked about, because I think it was like Cam that responded. He was like, yeah, sure, we can do it tomorrow. I was like, "Whoa, wait, hey, I didn't."
Slow down, Turbo. Slow down.
I didn't expect y'all to say like yes, like so quickly.
Right.
But we ended up doing like the next week or whatever. But shout out to Roman Cam from Dormtainment. Boss Talk is definitely one of my favorite podcasts. It keeps me motivated. That's like my self-help podcast I like to listen to.
Indeed.
But I heard you on their podcast. So we were talking about a little bit how you got. So if you can go into a little bit about how that even came to be.
Indeed. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. This is awesome.
Yes.
I've been doing production music now for like maybe 4 or 5 years, off and on. Within the last 2 years, though, I've been really gaining some traction. How I got into it was I was part of a band some years back. I was a background singer. And one of the drummers, actually, after I left the band and everything, the drummer hits me up. He DMs me on Instagram. He's like, "Hey, I don't know if you remember me. I work for, Universal. I do production music, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. And let's see if you could do like a few songs. I think that you'd be a great fit." And I was like, okay, like you say, a shot in the dark. I had no clue what was going to transpire. So I did a few songs for them and I kept getting called back. So I was just like, okay, this is actually turning into something, and you start building friendships and relationships with people. And I consider myself to be a really hard worker. I consider myself to be consistent and professional. And that's what I pride myself on when I work. And so obviously that reflected, and it caught the attention of the director. And she was just pulling me into multiple projects. Just this past 3 months, I've done maybe 3 or 4 projects at a time, 4 or 5 songs for each project. Nice. So I think I finished, somewhere along the lines of like 15 songs within a few months, because the demand has been, and I really didn't think I could do it, because I had never written that many songs and sang and rapped on so many songs at one time. But the great thing about working with the guys that I work with is that they believe in me so much that they knew that I can get it done. And so like I've built relationships with multiple producers that work for Universal, because I'm I'm not necessarily under a contract per se. Like, I'm a work for hire.
Okay.
So when they ask me, say, hey, you think you can get on these rap tracks real quick? And then I spit some and they're like, hey, you want 2 more songs? And I'm like, hell yeah, I want 2 more songs. And then it turns into like 6 or 7 songs that I be on. And so it's just been a constant thing on and off for the past few years. But like the last 2 years, I've really been putting in work. And I'm just really grateful that I'm able to not only make money, you know, the money is the great part, but building relationships with great people in the industry, because we all have our horror stories about how things go in the industry. I know I have my fair share of horror stories, you know, but I work with some really awesome people, both men and women. And, you know, not only am I doing production music, they got me doing other stuff. So I actually did the PMAs, which is the Production Music Association. Okay. It's like their version of the Grammys, basically. Okay. It's their award ceremony. And, you know, I used to be watching from afar. I used to watch all the other producers go to these, and I look at their pictures and like their pictures like, oh, I hope I get to be there one day. And then one day,
now you're working it.
Not only that, but like I performed there last year. They asked me to perform.
Nice.
And then this year, I don't know if I'm supposed to say this yet. I don't know, but they asked me to actually host it. I'm actually hosting it this year, which is huge. It's huge.
Congratulations.
Thank you. You know, and that just goes to show, like, you know, not just your talent that pushes you far. It's your work ethic. It's your heart. You got to have heart in this industry, in anything that you do. You got to push and push and push. And I'm just grateful that they're able to see, you know, my dedication to everything that I do, and that they believe in me so much that they keep offering me work. Bigger, like things are starting to get big. And I'm like in the corner, like, okay, y'all.
Like
it gets scary sometimes.
You said hosting? What?
Hosting? I was like, what? She was like, have you ever hosted before? I was like, I mean, like the little chitlin circuit. I'm sorry, I don't know if I can cuss.
Oh yeah,
I've done like the little chitlin circuit things where I've hosted and cracked a few jokes, you know, on stage and then performed, but not no award ceremony. So I was a little like, okay.
Like, you sure y'all called the right person? Like,
right? I'm like, yeah, me? I said, okay. I'm obliged. And I think part of the reason why they asked me to do it was because in March, I actually did a women's panel where they asked me to speak about my experience as a woman in production music.
Okay.
And I really made connections with a lot of the people in the audience. I made connections with people on stage. And it was just an all-around great experience. And I feel like they was looking at that and they was like, I think she's good at public speaking. Uh-huh. And I was like, I was nervous as shit. Like, I was so scared. I'm on stage shaking with my fucking cue cards. Like, I think I'm supposed to say this, you know, but they saw me, you know, and
this has been my experience.
This is, you know, and I started getting comfortable on stage and they were like, you killed it. I'm like, for real? Like, you know, after years and years and years of being invisible and now being visible, like my imposter syndrome is starting to kick in a little bit, and I be having to really just flick her out the way because she be getting on my nerve. Because I'm like, I deserve to be here. I deserve to do these things because I've been working in the industry for over 20 years. I've been doing this half of my life, you know, so I can't rave about it enough. It's been such a great experience. And on top of that, I'm getting my music on TV shows and trailers. Yeah. Like, what? That's insane.
I wanted to speak to you about, like you mentioned, the imposter syndrome. But first, I saw you said you had 2 songs in the Best Man series that just recently happened. I saw you post on Instagram like, yo, I was just watching the show and
I was just watching it. Me and my husband,
I hear my song. I'm like, what?
We were sitting on the
couch. Not one, but
chilling.
2.
Right, in 2 different episodes. And to be honest, I haven't finished the series because I got a daughter, so I can't sit down and finish movies, you know. But the episodes that I did see, you know, we were just sitting on the couch. My daughter's playing on the floor with her little cars and stuff. And then I hear the music and I'm like, I turned it up. I was like, oh my God, I freaked out. I freaked out because I love The Best Man. You know what I'm saying? Like, I love the actors and actresses in it. And I'm like, I'm part of this? Like, are you fucking kidding me, bro? Like, this is crazy.
I was talking to my friends about it when it like came on time. It came out saying how, just the first 2 episodes alone could have been the movie, and I would have been quite fine with just the first 2 episodes. I was like, then from episode 3 on, it just kept getting better. But it was like, I was fine with the first. I was like, just these 2 episodes, I am quite fine if it ends right
Real
here.
Talk.
I was like, how can you get any better?
Real talk. And I was binging it. I was gonna watch the whole thing. Of course, I couldn't finish it, but I was sitting there watching, like, damn, this is great. Like, I'm enjoying myself. Mm-hmm. I'm literally enjoying myself. And then a song of mine comes on, and I'm just like, I just had an out of body experience. It was crazy. It was insane.
Yeah. Was that the first time you had something like that happen, where you just like watching TV or whatever and just like, hold on,
no,
wait, I know that beat. Hold on.
Actually, now that I think about it, I had 3 songs.
Okay.
3 songs in The Best Man. The first scene was when they showed homegirl, I forgot her name, Amara, I forgot Terrence Howard's fiance's character.
Okay, yeah.
Where she's burning the house down.
Oh, yeah.
The scene, that was the first song that I freaked out on. And then the second one was when Nia Long's character had called Terrence Howard's now wife character, and I can't even talk right now, I'm sorry. My brain is going too fast. The ringtone was one of the songs that I did.
Oh, wow.
So it wasn't a full song, but it was the ringtone.
Okay.
And I'm like, y'all putting my shit in ringtones too? I was like, yo. It was insane. But like, all the other stuff that I've seen, I've been in commercials. Like, I was driving down the street one day, me and my husband and my daughter, coming from Walmart, and one of my songs was on an AT&T commercial. And I had to turn it up, like, oh my God, that's me. Like, it happens a lot. It happens a lot. And the thing about production music, like, people think that they tell you ahead of time what shows and stuff you're going to be on. They don't tell you jack. So you're literally finding these things in the wild, like fucking Pokemon. Like, you don't, don't know. I choose you. You literally
go Best Man.
Exactly. Go AT&T. Like, you're just finding them, and it makes it all the more exciting. So I have no complaints about that. I really do. But it's every time, I never take it for granted. Like, every time I hear my songs on anything, I'm just like, thank you, God. Like, this is more than I could ever ask for, honestly. For real.
That's super dope. But I wanted to talk to you about this imposter syndrome. So I know you said you're working on it. What was like the first real moment where you had to that you remember that you really had to talk yourself, or like, now that you got back into like music and the writing and everything, what was like the first, like, I guess, real big moment where they offered you something and you're like, are you sure? Like, you want to ask me? Or do you remember like your first like real, guess, big moment?
I think that my first moment that I can remember, I was 8 months pregnant with my daughter, and I had fibroid tumors as well. So I was huge. I could barely walk. I could barely, I couldn't even drive at that point. I could barely drive. Yeah, it was bad. And I got a call asking me to come do the theme song for Melody, who was an American Girl doll. Okay. So Mattel contracted Jaron, who is my friend and producer who I work with at Universal. He called me and was like, hey, we got this song for American Girl doll. Can you come do it? And at first I was going to say no because of my condition. But then I was like, hell no, I'm not going to pass this up. So when I got in the studio and they presented the song, and the song it's a big song. It requires big vocals. And I was terrified because I'm like, I haven't sang big like this in months because I've been pregnant. Yeah. So I was literally in the car, walking up the stairs, talking myself into doing this and talking myself into believing that I could do it. And it was a struggle. I'm not even going to lie. Like, I was standing up singing, and then I would have to hurry up and sit back down because I could barely stand up. Like it was a struggle, but I got it done. And they posted it on the American Girl Doll YouTube. And it was just a great all-around experience. But that imposter syndrome was like, girl, are you crazy right now? Like, you cannot possibly do this. You are pregnant. You could barely breathe. Like one of the fibroids that I have, I don't know if you know about fibroids. They're benign tumors. Mm-hmm. One of them was the size of a watermelon. By the time I had my daughter, it was huge. And it was sitting up under my lungs. Oh, so wow. The doctor had told me, this is pushing on one of your lungs, like it was squishing it. And so I had no lung capacity whatsoever. Like all the big notes that I used to be able to hit, like I'd be out of breath. So the whole time I'm like, you can do this, you could do this, you could do this.
It's like you fighting for your life just to do
fighting
this.
For my life in the studio. Do you hear me? Like I was literally fighting for my life. And, afterwards, the two guys, the Hardy Boys, who I was working for at the time, they were like, are you okay? Like, are you sure you can finish? I was like, man, we finna do this shit. I don't care what you're talking about. We finna do this because I'm about to be the voice of melody. You know what I mean? So it was a big opportunity, and it was an opportunity for myself to really push through and show that I could overcome anything. But that imposter syndrome was really in the back of my head. Like, girl, you're crazy. Like, you're insane for doing this. Even my husband asked me, like, are you sure you're up to it? I was like, man, I'm finna do this.
I know that's
I'm finna do it. And I'm glad I got some nice pay out of it. And when little girls click on the video, they hear my voice, and that's important to me. And one day when my daughter grows up and she starts liking dolls, maybe American Girl dolls, I'll be able to show her, like, look, mommy is one of the dolls, So I had a lot going on in my head.
I'm gonna have to look that up on YouTube. I'm definitely have to check that out.
I'll send you the link after so you can take a look at it.
Oh yeah,
it's
for sure.
Pretty dope.
Because that got me thinking about how right now, Little Mermaid just came out, and I'm just I'm enjoying seeing like all like the women I know, like either like take their daughters or even posting like they going to see it like themselves, like cause one of my friends, I saw that she was gonna go with her niece. I was like, oh yeah. I was like, how'd your niece like the movie? She was like, oh well, because it was like her first movie experience. She was like, she didn't even make it. She was being she was like, she didn't even make it. She's like, she was being a handful. She was like, but I went to go see it. She was like, it was amazing. It was brilliant.
Yeah.
It was beautiful. And I'm like, oh, I can't wait to find some time to go see it, because I'm loving seeing all the great positive feedback of just all these little girls like being able to see like, hey, a girl that looks like
representation. Me. Exactly. And that's important to me as well, which is why like me doing production music is like I have the opportunity to not only make a difference, in other people's lives, but also make a difference in my daughter's life. And she'll be able to see one day like my track record of all the work that I've done, and I do meaningful work. I'm not just out here just doing, some bullshit. Like I'm out here doing really meaningful things. Like we do Power to the People every year for Black History Month. And it's basically all the Black producers, Black writers, songwriters, singers, rappers, all that. And we all collab together and make an album. And it doesn't get any better than that. Like it's awesome. It's awesome to be a part of things like that. So representation matters. It really does.
Yeah, that's so.
It really does.
So again, while I was listening to the podcast, listen to your story, you talked about how when you were younger, being into music and dance and things like that, and then kind of just like falling out of love with music, I guess you could say, per se, and then like getting into teaching and things like that. Can you talk about that time and why? Like, I guess you would say, was it just like the struggles of getting into the music industry or whatnot, or?
So growing up, your parents always tell you like you need to go to college, you need to get an education. Yeah. You need to forget about all that singing shit. The singing shit don't pay the bills. You need to focus on getting your education and getting a job. Mm-hmm. And it was hammered so deeply into me that the thought of me doing music was like out the window, And so when I went to school, I studied biology because I wanted to be a physical therapist. That's what I wanted to do. So I had to study biology. I did the same thing. Yeah. Oh, you studied bio?
I wanted to be a vet, but I ended up changing my sophomore year to radio broadcasting.
Listen. Which is biology.
But it's
Baby,
kind of
listen.
similar for me because when I switched it to radio broadcasting, and I told my parents, I'm like, yeah, I want to switch it to radio broadcasting because I was doing radio on campus.
Yeah.
And my mom was like, it makes sense to me. She's like, you was always in your room downloading all that music, and I used to sell CDs. That was my hustle in high school.
Oh
Like,
yeah, back in the day.
When I was being afraid to tell my mom and dad, like, yeah, I want to change my major, and my mom was like, that makes sense to me. She was like, but I know you always like science and animals and stuff. She was like, but
Yeah.
that's what you want to do. And now again, look, all you do, like, I'm doing podcasts about music and all that stuff. Working
That's
with artists
awesome.
and stuff. So.
And that's such a pivotal moment for you as well, that your mom and your parents supported that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, being in a single parent household, like I was the eldest, so there was a lot of pressure to
That's how I
complete college.
grew up with my mom. I'm like, yo, I got 2 little sisters in the house.
Yeah, you know, it's a lot of pressure when you're the eldest and you want to be the example. And I felt that I was doing my best to do that, but I was suffering inside because I could not do music, you know, the way that I wanted to. Now, granted, there were times where I would go out and sing at different venues, and that's a whole different story. That was an insane time in my life. And it honestly made me not want to do music anymore, because I'm like, if this is what it is, I would rather go and teach, you know, than do this. And so I ended up doing that. I went, graduated, ended up teaching, and I taught for a good 10 years or so. Yeah, and I thought that was going to be my career until one day I woke up and I was just like, this is not who I am. This is not what I was put on this earth. Now, I was put on this earth to teach. I was put on this earth to motivate and push people. That's what I feel like my calling has always been, because I've always been willing to share my story and my testimony with other people to help other people along. But being in the classroom was not something that was meant for me. What was meant for me was the stage,
to
the
do it
studio.
through music.
Yes, to teach and motivate through music. Like, that was my thing. And so I quit teaching in 2015, and I have not looked back. And during that time, like, it was a lot of turmoil. That transition was really hard, because it's been ingrained in you that education is the most important thing, which it is. I'm not even going to deny that. But also following your passion and being in your passion and really believing in what you can do is also important. It's a part of you that you can't keep stuffing down, you know, and I was stuffing it down, and it got to the point where I couldn't stuff it down anymore. It was starting to get bigger than me. And my last year of teaching, actually, I decided to release my own album.
Okay.
And yeah, it was called 326. And I was in the studio till like 3-4 in the morning and having to get up at 6 and go teach, you know. So towards the end of my teaching career at this particular school that I was at, I actually got an email from the assistant head of school, and he basically was like, look, like, you can't basically do music and teach at the same time. And I'm like, who the fuck are you to tell me what I can and can't do outside of teaching?
Work time. Yeah.
Oh yeah, there were some haters. There were some real life haters. Like, he basically told me, like, you can't talk about your music in the classroom. And I'm like, I teach at a school where most of these kids are actors, actresses, poets. Amanda Gorman was one of my students. She was the inaugural poet during Biden's inauguration. You know, Zoli Griggs, who was on the Wu-Tang Saga.
Oh yeah.
She was one of my students. So these kids, like, they want to do these things, and I want to be an example.
And it's California. It's like we pretty much all like have like side gigs and all that stuff.
You know, and I guess they felt like I wasn't putting enough into my teaching, which was a lie, because I spent majority of my time grading papers, talking to parents, writing emails, doing the grades, all these different things that I still was doing, but I still wanted to do my music. And so it was then where I was just like, you know what? Fuck all this. I'm gonna go do some music. I'm gonna go do music. I did what everybody thought that I should have done. I went to school. I got my education. Everybody's like, yay. But on the inside, I'm like, fuck. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like
I'm dying inside.
I'm dying inside. And now it's about my happiness. So I'm going to pursue this music. I don't know what's going to come after this, but I'm going to do it. And so 2015 came and went, 16, 17, 18, 19, and then 2020 hit, and then COVID hit. And then I started doing the production music heavy. And I was like, okay, this is cool. Like I didn't look too deep into it. And then I started getting more work, and I'm like, damn, this might be a big career shift for me. Mm-hmm. Like this might be something that I could really do long term, And so I just followed the footsteps of God. He was in my ear, like, okay, you need to do
out
this.
On faith.
You literally jumping out on faith. Because, I was married too. I can't just up and quit my job. I got a husband, to take care of a household, to take care of bills to pay. Like you can't just up and quit without a plan, but I did it and we survived, and then we had a baby. So it was just like,
we sorry.
Here we are. Here we are.
Speak about that. Speak about the importance of having like a support system like your husband, and then like now like your daughter to help like further like push you to keep doing this and knowing like, hey, this is what I'm doing.
Yes. Having a support system is probably one of the most important aspects of doing music, because people don't take music seriously, like anything within the entertainment industry, unless they see you doing well. People are not going to support you. I didn't get a lot of support coming up. I mean, I got a lot of support now because they see the success, but they wasn't shooting with me in the gym. You know what I'm saying? My husband was shooting with me in the gym. You know what I mean? Like going to these gigs with me and, taking a listen to songs and giving me feedback and things like that. And so it was important for me to have him in my corner, because it could have easily been like, bro, you need to stop all this music shit. You need to go do this. He never told me what I need to do because he trusts me enough to be able to make the right decisions for us. I would never make decisions that would leave him in destitute. And I feel like he trusted that. And so he supported me through all the bullshit that I was going through, and my husband is very matter, like he's very black and white a lot of the times. And so like the industry is very colorful. There is no black and white. It's a lot of gray. It's a lot of black and green and orange and blue and all this other shit. And he couldn't understand a lot of the struggles that I was going through at first, because he was like, well, just leave, and I'm like, well, you can't just leave because what if this happens and blah, blah, blah. And it took me some years to understand his version of pushing me. It wasn't that he was trying to down me. It was because he saw the bullshit and I didn't see it, and so that also became important too. Like he's able to see because he's sitting back, and he's watching the whole thing play out. And he's telling me in the beginning, like, man, this is some bullshit. I wouldn't do it. And I'm like, man, you don't know what you're talking about. You're not there every night. You're not doing this. And then it ended up being some bullshit. So I also had to learn how to trust his opinion as well. If he's going to be supporting me, I had to learn how to listen to his feedback about things that were going on that I could not see and that he was seeing and trying to lead me out of it. Because I'm a very headstrong woman. It takes a lot of convincing to get me to stop doing something. Okay. So, he was very patient with me. I'll say that, very patient. And I'm grateful for him being by my side and supporting me. And now that we have a daughter, it's different now. It's not just us, it's us, like we both have to look after this little girl and teach her the ways of the world. And so, we're supporting each other a lot more. Like it's gotten heavier.
That's dope.
And so now that I'm doing the production music thing, it's not even, I see how he's coming along in his career and the things that he's doing as well. And so I have to offer my support as well, because I'm not the only one out here pursuing dreams. But we look at our daughter and we want to invest as much as we can into her. And so having that relationship is important to maintain, so sometimes we got to stop what we're doing and pay attention to each other, so that our daughter doesn't suffer. Because a lot of times with marriages, you're doing two different things and you're leading down two different paths, and you really sometimes forget to come together. So
I know,
working.
I've heard from one of my friends recently. He was talking about how having kids really made him like remember to slow down and enjoy the moments.
Yes.
Because he was saying it because he was basically comparing like his first child to his second child, and he was like, yeah, like had my second child during the pandemic. He was like, working from home or like not being at work for like some months at first originally or whatever. He was like, but then starting to work from home, he was like, I learned to enjoy the moments. He was like, because it made me realize the stuff that I missed with my son. At first he's like, either because of me being at work, my wife, being home, those 6 weeks, 8 weeks or whatever it is. And he was like, he's like, but when my daughter's like, oh, slow down, like, oh, like that's a moment, like, oh, like she smiled for the first time or she did this for the first time. He was like, just being a parent, I've learned to enjoy the moments.
You have to, because the days are long but the years are short. We looked up one day and our daughter's 2, and it's just like, damn, like what is happening?
Yep, that's what he said. He was like, I didn't want to look up and be like, my daughter's like, hey, Dad, I'm going to prom. What? Huh? You were just.
We underestimate the power of time. We really do, and you don't understand the power of time until you have a kid, and you're looking at time completely different than how you once looked at it when you were a single individual, without having to look after a whole other human being.
Yeah,
time is crazy. It's a thief too, because I swear I'm looking at this girl every day. I see her every day, and every day I feel like, wait a minute, when did you get this? Wait a minute, we just bought you those shoes. Like, it's crazy. So like having to have that life and then have my music life has been a huge adjustment. It's a huge adjustment. It really is.
Yeah, that's dope. But before we wrap it up, I want to just have a little bit of fun. I like to ask some fun questions every now and then.
Okay, I like fun.
So the first one, I'll say you don't have to put them like a certain order, but do you have a list of maybe like 3 to 5 of your favorite songwriters?
You know what? I'm going to be honest with you. I have not followed songwriters like that. I don't know their names per se, but I will give my list of songwriters that I do know who have influenced me over the years, but I don't know if I can name 5.
Like three is good.
3 is good. Okay, so we have Diane Warren.
Okay.
Esther Dean.
Okay, Esther Dean, she's fine.
Yes, Esther Dean is a beat. I actually met her. It was crazy when I was doing The Voice. It was insane. And the third one would have to be Missy Elliott.
I always tell everybody Missy Elliott is in like my top 10 just favorite rappers in general.
Favorite people of all time. She's in my top everything. But she's a beast songwriter. Like, people really, they see her as the artist, but they really don't see her as the songwriter. Like, her vocal arrangements are crazy. Like, I'm like, Missy, top. I should have named her first, but she's top.
Okay. Last question. If you could write a song for anybody right now, currently, who would it be?
If I could write a song for somebody, it would have to be... Ooh, that's a good one.
Like that one person,
that one person who I would want to get a song to. It would have been Rihanna, but she ain't been releasing no music like that.
Yeah. And she just loves teasing us.
Yeah, like she playing with us now.
I'm in the studio. Look.
Playing the fuck out of us, man. I love that for her though. She doesn't have to release another album for the rest of her life if she doesn't want to. This is gonna sound cliche, but I would have to say Beyonce.
Okay, dope.
Like, I feel like her vocals and how she sings things kind of matches my swag a little bit in terms of like being able to hit notes, so I have to say B, man.
All right, that's dope. But to wrap it up, give like any like social medias you want to give or anything that you want to shout out real quick.
Of course. So you guys can follow me on Instagram at Sharde Sangs. That's SHARDESANGZ. Sharde Sangs. And that's all of my handles. That's Twitter, that's Instagram, that's TikTok. What am I missing? Yeah, that's it. Those are my social handles. You guys can follow me, follow my journey into production music. And I post covers every now and again. Sometimes I post remixes. And I like to take videos of my daughter So if you like kids, you'll definitely see a lot of my daughter on my social media.
All right.
Because I'm a mom.
Well, I thank you for doing this, and this has been another episode of Music Impulse, and we out.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yep. See ya.